Some people change the world with a single idea, an idea so powerful it reshapes society. Margaret Sanger was one of them, a woman whose name would become synonymous with a revolutionary concept. She was a nurse witnessing firsthand the struggles of women, a writer using her words to ignite change, and a fearless activist who saw women had little control over their lives, trapped by societal expectations and limited choices. Sanger believed true freedom meant something far beyond the right to vote or work. Women deciding when and if to have children, empowering them to shape their own destinies. This idea sparked a revolution, a seismic shift in the way society viewed women and their reproductive rights, that would challenge laws, beliefs, and empower millions to take control of their reproductive health and futures. Her name became synonymous with the fight for reproductive freedom, a beacon of hope for women seeking autonomy. Sanger faced fierce opposition, a wall of resistance built on deeply ingrained societal norms. From government enacting laws to suppress her message, church condemning her views as immoral and against religious doctrine, and society where open discussion of birth control was considered taboo. Labelled dangerous and immoral, her ideas were often twisted and misrepresented in the media. She refused to be silenced, her voice growing stronger in the face of adversity. She risked her reputation, facing public scorn and social isolation, freedom, facing arrest and imprisonment for distributing information, and safety for her cause, knowing that her activism put her in harm's way. For Sanger, birth control was about human rights, a fundamental right for women to control their own bodies. Equality, leveling the playing field and allowing women to participate fully in society, and dignity, empowering women to make informed choices about their lives and futures. Her journey laid the foundation for the modern reproductive rights movement, paving the way for future generations of activists. She gave women access to information and care once forbidden, empowering them to make informed decisions about their health. Her efforts led to organizations that still help women today, providing essential healthcare services and advocating for reproductive rights. Sanger forced society to confront a hidden topic, sparking public debate and challenging deeply held beliefs, bringing women's struggles into public light, demanding recognition and solutions for their unique challenges. She insisted women's health and autonomy were matters of public importance, not private concerns to be ignored. Because of her, the world began to see, with greater clarity and understanding, that giving women control over their bodies was essential for justice and equality, a cornerstone of a truly equitable society. Her legacy is complex, marked by both triumphs and controversies that continue to be debated today, but her impact is undeniable, shaping the landscape of reproductive rights for generations to come. Margaret Sanger's courage changed everything, leaving an indelible mark on the fight for women's liberation. Margaret Sanger's passion, a fire that would ignite a movement, was deeply rooted in the harsh realities of her own family's struggles and the societal constraints of the time. She understood firsthand the burdens placed upon women. She watched her mother's health relentlessly decline after enduring 18 pregnancies, a staggering number that took an immense toll. It was a fate that haunted her, a constant reminder of the physical and emotional cost of unchecked reproduction. Her father, a freethinker and a man ahead of his time, instilled in her a rebellious spirit, teaching her to question authority, challenge the status quo, and relentlessly fight for justice and equality. This potent mix of personal suffering and progressive ideals profoundly shaped Sanger's life mission and her unwavering commitment to women's rights. As a dedicated nurse working in the impoverished tenements of New York City, she witnessed firsthand the desperation of countless women burdened by poverty and desperate to avoid the crushing weight of more pregnancies. With limited options and facing immense pressure, many tragically resorted to dangerous, often self-induced abortions, risking their lives in the process. The oppressive law of the land, the Comstock Act, cruelly made it illegal to disseminate or share any information whatsoever about contraception, effectively silencing any discussion of family planning. Doctors, bound by the law, could offer no help or guidance to these desperate women. But one particular tragedy, a stark and devastating event, changed everything for Sanger. Sanger personally cared for a woman named Sadie Sachs, who tragically died after a second, desperate attempt at a self-induced abortion. In a moment of callous indifference, the doctor's only advice to Sadie's grieving husband had been to sleep on the roof to avoid further pregnancies. That night, consumed by grief and outrage, Sanger made a solemn vow to fight against the unjust laws that kept women trapped in ignorance, poverty, and despair. She made the difficult decision to leave her nursing career behind, choosing instead to dedicate her entire life to championing this vital cause. Sanger's personal pain and profound empathy transformed into a powerful public mission, a burning desire to empower women. She would not rest, she would not be silenced, until all women had access to the knowledge, resources and power necessary to make informed decisions and control their own bodies and their destinies. And so, the seeds of a revolution, a fight for reproductive freedom, had been planted, nurtured by suffering and fueled by an unwavering determination. Margaret Sanger understood a fundamental truth. Knowledge was power. It was the key to unlocking a better future, especially for women. And she was absolutely determined to share it, to disseminate this vital information as widely as possible. She believed that every woman deserved access to the knowledge that could empower her to make informed choices about her own body and her own life. She fearlessly wrote bold articles on the often taboo subject of sexual health, tackling issues that were rarely discussed openly in polite society. She found a platform for her voice in a socialist newspaper, a publication known for its progressive views and willingness to challenge the status quo. There she penned a regular column, boldly calling it "What Every Girl Should Know," a provocative title that immediately grabbed attention, but her writing was quickly deemed too controversial, too radical, and was often censored by those in power who sought to suppress her message. However, this censorship and the ensuing backlash only served to fuel her resolve, strengthening her commitment to the cause. Undeterred, Sanger took matters into her own hands and launched her own publication, The Woman Rebel. It was a radical newspaper that proudly proclaimed the slogan, "No gods, no masters," a defiant statement of independence and self-determination. In its pages, she openly promoted birth control, a topic that was considered scandalous and illegal at the time. In doing so, she was directly challenging the deeply entrenched authority of the church, the power of the state, and the often conservative views of the medical establishment. Unsurprisingly, her actions drew the attention of the authorities, and federal prosecutors soon indicted her for violating the infamous Comstock Act, which prohibited the dissemination of information about contraception. Facing the very real possibility of imprisonment, Sanger made the difficult decision to flee to Europe, seeking refuge from the legal storm brewing in the United States. While there, she seized the opportunity to learn about more advanced methods of contraception and the operation of pioneering clinics that were providing women with essential healthcare services. Upon gaining this knowledge, she compiled it into a pamphlet titled Family Limitation, a practical and straightforward guide to birth control methods, written in clear and accessible language. Defying the law, she then smuggled thousands of copies of this invaluable pamphlet back to the United States, determined to get it into the hands of women who desperately needed it. Sanger's daring underground campaign armed countless women with previously forbidden knowledge, empowering them to take control of their reproductive health and their destinies. Her unwavering defiance inspired others to join her cause, and her message began to spread like wildfire across the nation, igniting a movement for women's rights and reproductive freedom. After a period of exile and learning, she eventually returned to America, more determined and resolute than ever before, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. For so many women desperate for answers and options, Sanger's words became a lifeline, offering hope and a path towards greater autonomy. The movement was steadily growing in strength and numbers, fueled by the passion and determination of countless women who believed in the cause. And despite their best efforts, the authorities simply could not contain it, could not silence the voices that were demanding change. Sanger's revolution was no longer just a theoretical idea or a fringe movement. It had become a powerful and undeniable force, reshaping the landscape of American society. The fight for women's autonomy, for their right to control their own bodies and their own lives, had truly begun in earnest, and there was no turning back. Sanger returned from Europe ready for direct action. In 1916, she, her sister Ethel Byrne and Fania Mindell opened America's first birth control clinic in Brooklyn. Flyers in multiple languages drew over 100 women on the first day. The clinic became a beacon of hope for women desperate for control over their lives. Sanger and her team knew they were breaking the law and expected arrest at any moment. For 9 days, they served hundreds of women. An undercover policewoman gathered evidence, and on the 10th day, the police raided the clinic. Sanger, her sister, and Mindell were arrested. The clinic was shut down. The raid made national headlines, turning the small clinic into a symbol of the fight for women's rights. The closure was not the end, but the beginning of a new chapter. Publicity from the arrests fueled the movement. Sanger's defiance inspired women across the country. The need for birth control was undeniable. The battle lines were drawn. The Brownsville clinic arrests launched Sanger into a series of legal battles. She and Ethel Byrne were tried for violating the Comstock law. Ethel's hunger strike in jail drew national attention and sympathy. Sanger used her trial to challenge the law's injustice. She refused to promise to stop her work, earning a jail sentence herself. Her time in prison only strengthened her resolve and public support. Sanger's appeal led to a crucial legal breakthrough. Doctors could now prescribe contraception for medical reasons. This loophole allowed the first legal, doctor-led birth control clinics. Sanger lost her personal case but won a victory for the movement. The law was beginning to bend. Sanger emerged as a hero, not a criminal. The fight was far from over, but hope was on the horizon. The courtroom had become a new battleground for women's rights. Sanger's determination was unbreakable. Sanger's crusade attracted powerful allies and fierce opponents. Wealthy women like Catherine McCormick funded her work, while doctors and reformers joined the cause. The American Birth Control League, founded in 1921, united activists, doctors and donors. The movement grew from a small rebellion to a national force. Religious institutions, especially the Catholic Church, fiercely opposed Sanger, condemning contraception as immoral. They lobbied politicians and organized protests, creating relentless opposition. Sanger also faced criticism from within the reform community. Her alliances with the eugenics movement have tarnished her legacy. Critics point to this as a serious moral failing. The movement's path was shaped by this complex web of support and resistance. Sanger's organizing skills kept the cause alive. She traveled, spoke, and built a network that would outlast her. The fight for birth control was now a national conversation. The movement was unstoppable. The legal victory for doctor-prescribed contraception changed everything. In 1923, Sanger opened the Birth Control Clinical Research Bureau in New York, staffed by women and operating legally. The clinic provided care and collected scientific data to legitimize birth control as healthcare. Sanger's vision expanded. She wanted clinics nationwide. The American Birth Control League lobbied for reform and opened new clinics, despite fierce opposition. By the 1930s, dozens of clinics served thousands of women. In 1942, Sanger's organizations merged to form Planned Parenthood. The movement shifted from protest to mainstream healthcare. Planned Parenthood institutionalized Sanger's mission. The small Brownsville clinic had sparked a national institution. Sanger's legacy was now built to last. Sanger dreamed of a simple, reliable contraceptive, a magic pill. In the 1950s, she joined forces with scientist Gregory Pincus and philanthropist Catherine McCormick. Their work led to the first birth control pill, approved in 1960. The pill revolutionized women's lives, fueling the sexual revolution and women's liberation. For the first time, women could confidently plan their futures. Sanger's vision had become reality. Her influence spread worldwide. She helped found the International Planned Parenthood Federation in 1952. Sanger argued that family planning was essential for global peace and prosperity. Her work laid the foundation for international reproductive rights efforts. Sanger's legacy extended far beyond America's borders. The world was forever changed. Margaret Sanger died in 1966, just after the Supreme Court's Griswold v. Connecticut decision legalized contraception for married couples. Her fight had dismantled the Comstock laws and enshrined reproductive rights in law. Sanger's work paved the way for future decisions like Roe v. Wade. Today, millions take contraception for granted, but it was Sanger's struggle that made it possible. Planned Parenthood, the organization she founded, remains a vital healthcare provider. Her legacy is complicated by her association with eugenics, a painful part of her story. We must acknowledge both her monumental contributions and her serious flaws. Sanger's story reminds us that history's heroes are rarely simple. She forced society to confront uncomfortable truths and challenge power structures. The debate over reproductive rights continues, making her story more relevant than ever. Sanger's courage and determination changed the world for generations. Her impact is undeniable. One rebel woman proved that change is possible.